Service back to pass, quick throw, complete,
Yes.
Touchdown Oilers.
A great route that time, and Jason Moore with a nice catch. And
It's Coach Keys Weekly on 88.3 WLFC.
Over the middle, intercepted by Chewy. Chewy across the 40.
Join Coach Keys and the Oilers on-air team as they take a look back at the week that was, discuss what's happening around the conference, and preview the week ahead.
Service throws, and caught late. Jason Moore went off of the front receiver's hands and right into Jason Moore's hands for the touchdown.
Now, let's join football head coach Rob Keys and the voice of Oiler football, Tim Montgomery.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Coach Keys Weekly here with the head coach of the Oilers, Rob Keys. I'm Tim Montgomery. And, Coach, let's talk about this past week. First off, big win. Start things off, and it's always good to open up the season with a win.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, you put so much time and effort leading into that first game, and to get the ball rolling is definitely good to get that first win. And against a state school from Michigan, Saginaw Valley, still Saginaw Valley.
Yep.
When you look at their facilities and what their tradition is, it's always good to beat a team like Saginaw.
37-19, and really it wasn't as close as perhaps that score is, at least for most of the way, and we'll go through the whole game here. But one of the things we talked about in the post game was, and I'll start with, is Reese Jervis. And Reese had such a good game, and I guess to use the football term, he was such a great game manager that he almost goes unnoticed when you put up numbers like 24 of 31 for 274 yards and 3 touchdowns. To say that almost went unnoticed because he distributed it so well.
Yeah, it's just a product of his preparation. It really is. I mean, if you watch the kid prepare for a game, it's incredible. The amount of time he puts in and how detailed he is in his approach. And at practice, he understands that every rep is a learning experience, both good and bad. And he did what he was supposed to do in the game. He acted like a veteran quarterback that's been there, done that. And, it's so... Oh, it's such a relief as a staff to have a guy like that, knowing that, hey, if you need to play, he's going to make it.
Meanwhile, look at rushing the ball as on the day offensively. You guys, 88 plays, which is another thing we'll talk about here in a little bit. 456 yards. You got a nice complement in your rushing game. 3 running backs in there. Chauncey Bridges, your lead back, goes for 102 yards on 25 carries and busted a couple of good-sized runs in there as well.
Yeah, We've always known that Chauncey has the home run ability, and he made some big runs out of nothing at times. And if you give him a crease, he has a shot to put in the end zone from anywhere. The thing I liked is he did a really good job of, once he got to that second level, made a couple guys miss and got the extra yards. And, all in all, like I said, I think him spending all summer here, which he did, I think he got stronger. And it's going to allow him to be more complete back as the season goes on. I
also was impressed with how patient he was. He let some of those things open up for him, and sometimes running backs don't do that. But also don't want to miss Michael Campbell, Dadasilla also getting 15 and 11 reps together. And between the whole team, you throw in Reese, and it's almost 200 yards rushing.
Yeah, you look at the way those other 2 running backs ran the ball. I thought they did an effective job. I think at times certain backs got better looks. Unfortunately, I thought Dowda only had one really clean look. He missed a couple cuts, but the times that he wasn't effective, was due to the offensive line not blocking exactly where he needs to be. So, I think all 3 of those backs, when they have the ball in their hand and they get clean looks and they get to the second level, they can do some damage.
Meanwhile, go to your receiving core. We talked a lot in the preseason about Dylan Blunt, and he showed us why. 8 catches, 101 yards, no touchdowns, but several key catches that kept drives alive that ended up in the end zone.
Yeah, the thing with Dylan, and he's having to deal with it. He had to deal with it a little bit at the end of last year, and he's going to have to deal with it as he goes through his senior season. He's getting attention. Outside linebackers are trying to take him out. They got double coverage on him at times. And for a guy that, I watched Saginaw specifically try to take him out, for him to get 8 catches for 100 yards is a good sign, because it's sometimes easy when you're not the guy. And now Dylan, there's a target on him, and to be able to be that effective and that productive shows how good of a receiver really is. But Aaron Ivory, he stepped in, tremendous start, his first start on offense. Made some really big catches, acted like he's been there, done that before. It was still comfortable for him. And Jason Moore still has that playmaking ability. We saw it, and it's a shame the ball that they called incomplete in the one end zone. You look at it on film, sure looks like it's a catch. We had one official signal touchdown, the other official signal incomplete, but I didn't see the ball hit the ground.
And then you talked about Aaron and Jason as well. I thought Jason had a couple of just monster catches. His touchdown catch was as good of a catch as you're going to see in a while. He was another guy who was seeing a lot of extra attention as well. Had guys draped on him. I thought there could have been a couple more interference calls during that game as well. But then you mentioned it, Aaron Ivory. And I think he's the one who benefited from the extra attention on those other two. He really benefited from that.
Yeah, and he made really, I think he had 4 or 5 catches, but the catches he made were great catches. He made a big clutch one on third down, and the one on the sideline, about a 35, 40-yard catch. I thought that was a great adjustment to the ball. And, he'll only get better with time. I just know that that's a tough transition. And that transition wasn't made till just recently to take him over offensively full-time and play over there. And he responded in a big way for us. And then Anthony Federico, he does catch touchdown passes.
That's what I was going to exactly what I was going to say.
If he catches a ball, there's a 50% chance it's in the end zone. So I saw Feds after the game. I said, man, you're like Chris Carter. All you do is catch touchdown passes.
Absolutely. Let's go ahead and let's switch to the other side of the ball. And you talk about defensively. And I thought there was a lot of good. And as we talked about many times, the question mark coming in is this defense going to take a step forward? And it certainly looks, after 1 week, like it certainly has taken a step forward.
It has. But at the same time, those guys were reminded quickly on the meetings at Sunday that we got a long way to go. We got to clean some things up. The thing I loved about it, and Coach Macrinos and Coach Rebels and Coach Zwig in the defensive meeting, they all hammered the point home that they noticed a defense that was very unhappy after the game, legitimately. And I like that. As a staff, as a coach, you're never satisfied and you're always kind of upset with certain things. But to watch the players have that same level of standard that the coaches have, and to be disappointed with 19 points on the board is a good sign. It goes to show you that this defense has a shot to be good. But again, one game doesn't make a good defense, nor does it make a good offense, nor does it make a good team. So we're going to see how consistent they're going to be moving forward. But I was very, very pleased with the way they played, and very pleased they were upset that they gave up 19 points.
Well, we'll get to more on that 19 points in a moment, but let's talk about one of the things you always measure the defense by, and that's takeaways. And that's one of the spots where you guys weren't able to make something happen. It looked like there was going to be a couple of chances for it, forced a fumble, weren't able to come up with it, but still, that's another area that this team's got to look towards.
Yeah, we definitely need to improve in that column. I thought we could have intercepted 2, if not 3 balls. We did have 1 ball on the ground, the forced fumble. I think at times we could have did a better job of maybe the second guy in trying to take the ball off the ball carrier. So those turnovers, it's funny. When they come in bunches. But when they don't come, they just, it seems to have a dry spell. You don't get any. So we got to do a better job moving forward on creating 3, 4, 5 turnovers a game.
A couple guys I really thought stood out. Miles Alexander was exactly who you'd expect him to be. I thought he was ever present around the ball. And then also Chewy. I thought Chewy had another game. He had a couple of really nice pass defends where he just went up above the receiver and just took balls away.
Yeah, Miles, experience shows. I mean, he's a 4-year senior. He's played a lot of football for us. And it was very businesslike, and that's what you expect from Miles. Very consistent. The big plays will come if he keeps doing his job. Chewy, he made some big plays. He did have a couple pass breakups. I didn't like the one touchdown pass he gave up, just in bad position. But, the thing is with our defense and the way it's designed right now, people are going to take a shot on the outside, and our corners have to win some of those battles. And we lost 2 battles on the 2 long touchdown passes.
Another name you heard a lot coming over the PA was your middle linebacker, Kostelic, and he continues to improve. You talked about him just before last week's game, and you talked about how he was really starting to put some pieces together, make some plays, and I think we saw that on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, we asked him to play as a true freshman at middle linebacker. It's sort of like playing center as a true freshman, and we had one of those, Neil Davis, who had a heck of a football game for us on the offense side of the ball. But, Anthony has benefited from a spring ball, and he's seen himself make mistakes, and he's seen himself do it the right way. And he loves the game. He's such a football player, and I know that with Anthony, he still has not even got close to how good he can be, and that's really, it bodes well for the future. And we're excited about watching his progress, and I know he's gonna be good every week.
You mentioned line, and I wanted to put those two together because I thought both did a nice job of controlling the line of scrimmage, and both did it kind of, as you said, as a team unit. It wasn't that one person was just doing all the work. You really saw the unit come together and really handle that line of scrimmage during, I thought, most of the game.
Well, I know defensively, when you hold a team 58 yards rushing, that's in the past, that's few and far between in the games we've played here in the last 5 years where you hold teams to 58 yards rushing. And if we can continue to do that, if we can stay on that note, it's going to give us a shot to win every game. And offensively, the offensive line, Andrew Alton, was a physical presence. I mean, he beat the heck out of some of those kids. It was almost criminal. I felt bad for the defensive tackle a few times. And I like the way Jason Mulligan and Andrew Dickinson and Christian Olmstead. We have two tackles. You keep forgetting 3 of the offensive linemen had their first starts.
Yep.
Christian Olmstead, Andrew Dickinson, as well as Neil Davis. And Neil, to line up as a true freshman at center and start game 1 is tough. Now, we had Damon Howell do that a couple years ago, but it was game 4. So for a kid to go in there, with the exception of playing quarterback as a true freshman, that was a tough spot for him. And I know that he's going to be even better in week 2.
Let's finish up this segment talking about special teams a little bit. A little bit of disappointment. I know you stated it, the blocked extra point on the first touchdown, and a missed field goal. But after that, seemed to get his feet underneath him a little bit there. And then I thought the return game was pretty solid as well.
Yeah, I like the way Troy Robinson handled the punt return game as well as the kickoff return. Jordan Jackson had a big one. A little disappointed in the big kickoff return that Saginaw had that led to no points because the defense stopped them. But all in all, we can't miss extra points, and we corrected those minor issues, and hopefully we'll move forward. The thing I liked, there wasn't a lot of mistakes made by us, and we always talk about that. If we can limit the mistakes in the first game, you're going to end up winning. And the mistakes were few and far between. We had some ones, we definitely made some, and we're going to learn from those. But, it's cliche, but good football teams make the greatest improvement between week 1 and week 2, and we're hoping to do that.
Well, and only 3 penalties, talk about very few mistakes, and I thought that last one was a little bit weak at best. So let's go ahead and take a break here. When we come back, we're going to talk about this week's upcoming opponent, the Ohio Dominican Panthers, when we turn to Coach Key's Weekly here on 88.3 WLFC.
Jervis back to pass, quick throw, touchdown Oilers!
This Saturday, the Oilers are back in action, playing host to the Panthers from Ohio Dominican University.
Over the middle, intercepted by Chewy.
Tim Montgomery will have the call from Donnell Stadium. Pregame at 6:45, kickoff at 7 o'clock.
Jervis throws, caught late, and right into Jason Moore's hands for the touchdown.
This is your home for Oiler football, 88.3 WLFC.
Welcome back to Coach Key's Weekly here on 88.3 WLFC. Tim Montgomery and the head coach of the Oilers, Rob Keys, and 1-0 now on the season, and that got to be enjoyed for probably about 2 hours before the work this next week started for Ohio Dominican. And really kind of an interesting situation. Ohio Dominican, certainly a team that's been on the rise the last several years, but some changes at Ohio Dominican starting right at the top.
Yeah, Coach Conley did a really good job with that program over the last 4 or 5 years, and perennial playoff team. If you look at some of the numbers, it's amazing. They're 20-1 in their last 21 GLIAC South games. You're looking at over 95% winning percentage. They've won 35 consecutive games versus unranked opponents. The win percentage in regular season games is 32 of the last 36, and it's almost 90%. It's crazy. They have been a winning machine, and they just keep rolling. And the thing about it, that team, not only with Coach Conley, but Coach Cummings, now the head coach, was a defense coordinator there for the last couple of years. So the change is very slight. He has done an awesome job of building that defense into a nationally ranked defense, and I know that they'll be ready to play. Hats off to the entire staff at Ohio Dominican. They're very good coaches, and they have a very good team.
Well, and you talk about that defense. Actually, talk about that team altogether. Returning 17 guys who started at least 3 games last year, and you mentioned the defense, 10 of them on the defensive side of the ball. It's going to make them a tough defense to go against.
They are, and you watch Ferris. We watched the game. I mean, Ferris State presents such a big problem to defend. I mean, it's not only their talent, but it's their scheme too. And to face that in week 1 is tough. So, I watched the game, and to say that game was a 41-0 game, if you watch it, the score is not indicative of nearly what the game was. I know it was 14-0, and ODU was driving, and they ended up turning the ball over. And it was 17-0 throughout most of the third quarter, so it never really got bad until late in that game. So, and Ferris State's a tremendous football team. So to think Ohio Dominican has lost a step, or they're a bad football team because they lost their opening game 41 scratch is not nearly the truth. We're going to get a very physical, and very aggressive, and very hungry Ohio Dominican football team next Saturday.
Yeah, you mentioned that situation. Ferris State came down and scored, and there's certainly no news flash about that. And Ohio Dominican was driving the ball, but then, as you said, a turnover. And then the next drive, they come down and a couple of sacks just kind of as they were driving, and then you felt like they just kind of had the wind go out of their sails a little bit there. But really, this is a better team, as you point out, than the 41-0 score.
Yeah, they were really never out of it until the fourth quarter. They ended up, the punter dropped a snap and gave up a block punt, which led to another kind of late score that stretched the lead. But, all in all, I mean, you look at the numbers. Ohio Dominican is one of the top teams, not only in this league, but in the country. They've won playoff games, they've won conference championships, and they have a ton of talent. And it starts with their quarterback. I mean, the kid is really, really good. He could throw the ball, he runs it, and really, the thing about him, he's won football games, and that's what quarterbacks are supposed to do. And by him, you look at his record. He won 8 games last year, and he's a very, very good player.
Yeah, Grant Russell, who you're talking about, the junior quarterback, and had a rough day, as you pointed out, 19-25. But when you put up his career numbers, he kind of reminds you of Anthony Federico, and all he does is win. That's all he does. He just wins all the time. And he had a rough day, but certainly he brings a little bit of, he can move the ball. He doesn't run a lot. He doesn't run prolifically, but he had 12 rushes on Saturday, and he's been known to run in spots. Kind of reminds me of Reese that way. Doesn't want to run, but he will run if the situation presents itself, and he can be effective.
Yeah, I mean, and I like their offense. I mean, it's up-tempo at times. They have a chance to move it really quick. They'll take what the defense gives them. They'll spit out the bubble screens to the boundary as well as the field. And they have some really good slot receivers and good receivers that can make plays after the catch. But, where that team gets its momentum is from the defense side of the ball. They're great up front. I mean, they have Demetrius Farmer and Brian Hunter and Paul Wesselhoff. I mean, they have some really good football players on that defensive line. They rotate a bunch of guys. And then Cameron Cole, the middle linebacker, is a bona fide Mike linebacker. He makes a ton of tackles. He's sideline to sideline, as well as Ross Thompson. So, you look at those guys, and then you throw in the secondary. Billy Eakins, and as a senior, the corner. I mean, he's played a ton of football. Was an all-conference player for him. So they're loaded on the defense side of the ball, and it's where they get their momentum. That defense gets rolling and they get stops. The offense has the ability to put some points on the board. So, we got our hands full. And the thing, they played Thursday night, so they got a couple extra days to prepare for us.
Well, you talk about that defense, and historically, we won 1 out of the last several meetings against them. But the way they seem to get the Oilers every time is with that defensive pressure. They stifle you, they frustrate you. They'll usually force a couple of turnovers and then get you out of your sequence. And then it feels like they kind of remind you of Ashland. When they get you out of sequence, then it's like sharks smelling blood in the water. Yeah,
and you watch both of those games. I mean, the one Thursday night game last time we played, it was the defense that got them started. We went 3 and out to start the game, and we struggled moving the ball. We actually didn't score till the second quarter. And when you do that against a good football team, they're going to put some points on the board, and they did. And then it kind of unraveled because it gets you off balance, and you got to try to do things maybe you're not comfortable with doing, and you're not controlling the tempo or pace. And they are. They're very similar to Ashland. We've been in the same boat. Their defense is what leads that football team, and we have to do a good job offensively again, keeping it balanced, spreading the ball around, and really hopefully dictating the pace.
Well, you mentioned the offense earlier, and certainly Russell, an outstanding quarterback, but he is being flanked by some new guys back there. In the backfield, he has Chapman and Hines, who haven't seen a ton of time, and then on the outside is where the receiving core is where they really show their inexperience here.
Yeah, I mean, they lost an NFL player in Des Stewart, who we played a couple years ago. Tremendous talent, and he got picked up with the Washington Redskins, so you know what kind of talent he has. There are some new guys out there, but watching them play, it has nothing to do with their skill set. It just has to do with some experience. And once they get a better feel for the game, they can be deadly on the outside.
Well, talk about that, Coach. You mentioned it, extra days, and they obviously have a bad taste in their mouth. And of course, we know Coach Cummings from his time here at Findlay, and he's a fire-up guy. They're going to come in and give you your best anyways. But coming off that loss, the extra 2 days, they're really going to be just wetting at the mouth for you.
Yeah, I mean, all in all, once the game starts, all that stuff's kind of throw out the window, and you're just going to play. And the team that plays the best and plays the cleanest is probably going to win. But there's no doubt we're going to get their best and then some. But you expect that every week from everybody. But I know there's no doubt. When you had high expectations going into game one, and it didn't go the way you want, and you got a few days extra days to get yourself ready to win a game. Because no doubt, I mean, it is week 2. But every game is so important in college football. And all these teams are vying to try to get themselves in position where it's late October, November to maybe be a conference champion or a playoff contender. And if you slip up too much early in the season, you look week 5, week 6, you turn around, you're kind of out of it. So it's a big game for both teams. And there's no doubt, I mean, there's some familiarity with both the coaching staff as well as the players. We recruited a lot of these guys that chose Ohio Dominican over us, and there's some guys that chose Findlay over Ohio Dominican. So it's going to be a great football game. But, again, the only thing we control is us. And we need to do a better job in all 3 areas, all 4 areas. You could throw coaching in there as well. And we have to have a great week of preparation.
Well, last Saturday, under the lights, 7 o'clock, was a great environment at Donnell Stadium. You get another one of those, 7 o'clock at night. Talk a little bit about the environment. I thought it was a really good crowd. Thought they got into the game. Seemed to be a nice environment.
Yeah, it was. The students, a lot of the students were not there because of Labor Day weekend, so they bailed. So I understand that, but hopefully this Saturday, all the students come out, and we had a great crowd. Just imagine if you throw another group of students in there, get a little crazy in the end zone. And I miss Staley in the end zone. My man Staley, he's not here anymore. I'm looking for him, but it was a very good crowd. But I'm hoping that win last week will get some people excited about the University of Findlay football and get them out to Donnell at 7 o'clock and hopefully give us a home field advantage, because we've done a really good job over the last 5 years, starting season 6, at protecting our home turf, and we've won a lot of games at home, and it's been good to us. So hopefully we continue that streak and keep the wins going.
I'm pretty sure I know what this answer is going to be, but we're going to finish up the way we always do. Let's talk about it. Keys to a victory over Ohio Dominican.
Yeah, I think it starts on the defense, and the defense has to step up and get the ball. And we didn't do that last week. Yeah, we stopped the run, but we need to get those takeaways, and we need to put our offense in position where we can get some easier scores. On the offense side of the ball, it goes back to the line of scrimmage. They have a very good defensive line. Their defensive line, I think, after watching the film, is definitely better than the first team we faced up front, and we're going to have to do a better job of staying on blocks and moving those guys and establishing a little better run game. I mean, a run game we averaged about 3.5 yards a carry. We need to bump that to about 4.5, 5 yards a carry. So that's where it's going to start on the offense side of the ball. And then on the special teams units, we got to eliminate some of those big plays. We had some big plays for us, but we gave up a couple big plays against us. So we need to tip that scale in one direction. If we get 4 or 5 big plays in special teams and not give up any, it'll give us that much of a better chance of winning game 2.
All right, Coach, sounds good. We'll have the kickoff 7 o'clock on 88.3 WLC. Pregame right about 6:45. Let's knock off the Panthers.
All right, sounds good. Thanks.
All right, we'll talk to you next time on Coach Keys Weekly here on 88.3 WLFC.
Jervis back to pass, quick throw, complete,
Yes.
Touchdown Oilers.
A great route that time, and Jason Moore with a nice catch. And
Thank you for listening to Coach Keys Weekly.
Over the middle, intercepted by Chewy. Chewy across the 40.
Tune in every Tuesday night during the season for your connection to Coach Keys and Oiler football.
Jervis throws and caught late. Went off of the front receiver's hands and right into Jason Moore's hands for the touchdown.
This is your home for Oiler football. 88.3 WLFC.